U.S. inflation was negative in June. Bitcoin jumps above $59,000. Prior to the report, market participants had recently become increasingly convinced that the Fed was going to trim rates at its September meeting. Inflation continued to retreat in June, according to the government's Consumer Price Index (CPI) report on Thursday morning, with the June rate coming in at a negative 0.1% pace against forecasts for a gain of 0.1% and May 0% read. On a year-over-year basis, the CPI was higher by 3% versus expectations for 3.1% and 3.3% in May. Core CPI, which strips out food and energy costs, also was better than hoped, rising in June versus expectations for, and May's. Core CPI year-over-year was up versus forecasts for, and June's. The price of Bitcoin, BTC, jumped to $59,100 in the minutes following the report, higher by nearly 2% over the past 24 hours. Ahead of Thursday morning's report, market participants were increasingly coming around to the idea that the U.S. Federal Reserve was going to finally trim its benchmark Fed funds rate at its mid-September meeting. The CME FedWatch tool put the odds of this happening at more than 70% versus less than 50% just 1 month ago. It was a notion that Fed Chair Jerome Powell took pains to neither confirm nor deny in 2 days of congressional testimony earlier this week. At that testimony, Powell did acknowledge a weakening labor market and that the Fed is becoming increasingly focused on downside risks to the economy. However, he reiterated, as he and other Fed members have done for weeks, if not months, that the central bank wants continued confirmation that inflation is returning to its 2% target before rate cuts can be truly considered. In search of a catalyst, Bitcoin has been under considerable pressure over the past week since zooming to an all-time high above $3,500 late in the first quarter. The second quarter saw a slowing of inflows and even on occasion sizable net outflows into the US-based spot ETFs. Then in late June into early July, a flood of supply from the sale of government holdings and the return of Menti. GOX token sent the price crashing to below $54,000 at one point, nearly 27% below that record high. The tumble in Bitcoin might be even more frustrating to the bulls given other competing risk assets, namely U.S. stocks, have continued to surge higher throughout the summer. Just yesterday, the S&P 500 and Nasdaq completed their 7th consecutive day of advance, scoring new record highs for each index. Sustained Bitcoin rallies have often come alongside sustained monetary easing campaigns.